On this episode, we talk about Daniel Bryan retiring from WWE, the Dudley Boyz turning heel, Raw focusing on Dean Ambrose, your questions, and more on Byte That. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 129 of Byte That's Wrestling Podcast, a weekly show where we cover what's going on in the WWE and maybe a little bit more in the world of professional wrestling. My name is Ryan McNulty. I come from Boston, Massachusetts. Joining me today, of course, from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, Keith Poshik.
I'm back, and I'm better than ever. And you know how the rest of at least you think you know how the rest of the song goes. I wonder if people still remember that Eric Bischoff had that as a theme.
It was a great theme, and it
was a great theme.
Eric Bischoff had a hell of a run. And
remember when sorry, apparently I can't talk yet today. But remember when we would be in chat rooms, and then whenever we would go BRB or Be Right Back, we would play that as we came back. Like instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm back," we would go. Yeah. We would let the song play,
or we'd at least like half sing, "I'm back."
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
we are.
We have this weird trend where, of course, the fact that you're hearing my voice start the show knows that Juan could not make it today. He has some obligations, so it is a two-man show this week. But what I was saying is we have this weird trend where last week we had the two-man show and Keith could not make it. And then this week we have a two-man show where Juan can't make it. That seems to happen a lot. We'll have a good run of three-man shows for a while. And then once someone can't make it and we have a two-man show, almost immediately the next week, there's another two-man show with somebody else
Ryan,
missing.
No pressure.
Yeah, no. It usually only lasts 2 weeks, though. So I think things look good for a three-man show next week. So
you are once again the anchor that truly holds us down.
Yes, yeah. I think I've only missed 3 total shows, which is insane because we're on 129 right now. So
it's best not to think about it.
Yes, yes. Nevertheless, few quick things before we jump right into it. We do have our YouTube channel for tons more content besides this podcast, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. And of course, this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. And hey, leave us an iTunes review if you like the show. Really goes a long way. It helps us out a lot. So if you have a second, you enjoyed the show, you haven't done a review yet, head over there and do that for us. We'd really appreciate it.
Indeed,
so,
we would.
Monday Night Raw happened.
As it does every Monday.
It is a thing that happens. But before Raw even started, WWE broke some major news, and I'm sure everybody by this point knows what I'm talking about, and that is Daniel Bryan officially retired from wrestling. And last night on Monday Night Raw, he gave his farewell speech. Him basically, we don't know contractually what's going on, but this is officially his exit from wrestling.
Yes.
So just your immediate reaction when you got the news.
Well, when I first saw the tweet, I went through that probably the same thing that everybody else did. Like, oh, this can't be real, right? This is some sort of work. He can't retire.
There's that part of you in the back of your mind where you're just hoping like, oh, the Undertaker's going to come out and we know they're going to face each other at WrestleMania.
But no, it turned out to be super real. And I mean, if everything is true and he isn't exactly like passing all of the concussion tests and he's just not in good health, then as far as I'm concerned, it's a bittersweet thing that is for the best. If you're not well, you shouldn't do it. And honestly, it's great that they caught it at the point that they did. So that way we don't have another situation where somebody wrestles way too long and ends up basically borderline a cripple because of it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy it happened, but at the same time, I'm sad because, that means, hey, Daniel Bryan's no longer an active wrestler, and that sucks because I still want to see great matches from him. But
I think we all do.
Yeah.
The storyline for a while had been that Daniel Bryan was cleared and it was just on the WWE doctors. He had gone to his own personal doctors and I think he saw another doctor. They said he's good to go, clean bill of health. And obviously Bryan was super frustrated over that because the WWE doctors just would not let him wrestle. And a lot of people speculated that was because WWE is very worried about concussion lawsuits and all that. They don't want to let someone wrestle who might not be in good health because they know how many concussions Bryan has had, and then to have that really backfire on them, it's a complete mess. And there's a lot of concussion scandals going on with the NFL right now. It's a big thing, and WWE does not want to be caught with their pants down in a situation like this.
And honestly, good on them for not clearing him, especially if he really was suffering from all of those problems.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't give in to pressure, and they did the right thing for everybody.
Yeah, it may not seem like the right thing at the time. People were speculating because they wanted Roman Reigns to be successful. They didn't want Daniel Bryan kind of stealing any of his thunder. But I don't think that's true. Given all the injuries that we've seen on the roster, they would have called in Daniel Bryan because they absolutely needed him.
Because they have no other choice.
Yes, they absolutely needed him if they could have used him. But apparently, during Daniel Bryan's speech, he revealed that about a week and a half ago, he got a new type of brain test that clearly showed things that kind of confirmed the suspicions of the WWE doctors, and that there's definitely some potential problems with his brain, or at least that they could see that things could get really bad if he continues. So this is apparently the new development that really was the catalyst for this entire retirement thing happening. Because up until then, I think Daniel Bryan was still holding out hope that he was going to be able to come back at some point. So moving on to the actual retirement speech itself. Tears? Were there tears in the Poshik household, Keith?
Well, let's not say tears, but there was sadness. Like I said, it was very bittersweet. I look at it from the angle of, it's over and that sucks, but hey, it was a hell of a run up to this point. We got some of the best moments in Raw from Daniel Bryan and some of the best matches in recent years from Daniel Bryan. It's hard to be sad over something like that beyond the fact it's over. So yeah, it sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I thought he gave a great speech, and like you said, he had a hell of a career, and this is kind of like, we can finally just say Daniel Bryan is over. Retired, because it's been basically 2 years.
No more speculation, Ryan.
Yeah, on and off for about, a year and a half to 2 years of, is he going to come back? Is he healthy? Ever since he won the championship at WrestleMania 30, it's been, unfortunately, a lot of problems, a lot of back and forth. So it's finally, you can put a bookend on Daniel Bryan's career. And, aside from the injuries, you can look back and say, this guy had a hell of a career. I mean, he won, aside from the Divas Championship, I'm pretty sure he won every single title that you could win in WWE.
Yeah,
at least
you
that was
are 100%
available.
Correct.
That was available at the time. I mean, the only thing he probably didn't do was win a Royal Rumble. And he probably should have.
But then if he did win the Rumble, he should have won. We never would have got that Shattered Dreams moment, which is still one of my favorite Rumble moments. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
Well, what specifically?
Last year, when Bryan came back and he entered the Rumble, and everybody's like, yeah, he's got to win it, right? And then when he got eliminated, the next person that was coming out was Goldust. So the second he gets eliminated on the Titantron, it says Shattered Dreams Production presents. I don't think that was a coincidence, and if it was, well played.
I actually did not remember that, but that's pretty hilarious. But I think it almost like, the Rumble that he wasn't even in was probably the one he should have won. But you could obviously make a case for him supposedly should have winning last year. I worded that terribly, but you guys know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So yeah, Daniel Bryan, great speech. The crowd, I mean, he shared a lot of emotional moments with his, the fact that his, this was the last place that his father, in Seattle, was able to see him wrestle, and just very heartfelt. That moment where he just kind of closed his eyes and just kind of took everything in.
You felt something there.
I know, like, it had that different feeling, and I didn't know why. And then when he basically said, I'm not allowed to close my, when you're a WWE superstar and you're doing your thing, you're apparently, I guess that must be a big no-no, is closing your eyes at any point in time. But so that's why it just kind of felt like a different moment there. But
to me, it felt like there was a difference. There's a difference between Daniel Bryan, the superstar, and Daniel Bryan, the man, right? What we saw there was Daniel Bryan, the man, the fan of wrestling, not the person that is paid to perform in front of people on a weekly basis. It's very hard for us to see that line sometimes, but it was very, very clear during that speech.
Yeah, absolutely. So a very heartfelt moment. Did you catch any of the stuff after? Because I actually didn't even know that it was continuing on the app after Raw went off the air, but I was able to
I saw very little of it.
Yeah,
I saw
caught
the YouTube
a few
clip.
like GIFs or whatever. But they had the whole roster on stage, and he's, doing the yes chant one last time next to Brie, and then he, hugs Vince McMahon and is on his way out. And Cody Rhodes apparently not the best yeser. He was,
no,
he was
put a little bit of effort
yes,
into it. Come on.
Then, you saw Kevin Owens in a New Day shirt and more ridiculousness. But
you saw Jericho in a Social Outcast shirt.
Yes, Jericho in a Social Outcast shirt. But it was cool to see. I mean, even like CM Punk's tweeting about this. Everyone's really coming out and just talking about what a great guy Daniel Bryan is and celebrating his career, because the guy has had an amazing career. And he did so much in WWE in a pretty short amount of time.
I think Dave Meltzer said it best. I don't have the quote in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of, we won't know for years the exact impact that Daniel Bryan had on the wrestling business, just how crazy of an impact, and like you said, such a short amount of time he had, and how it changed the game completely. And if there's a dude that knows that, it's probably Meltzer.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think without a doubt, when we look back in the history of wrestling, that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan will be largely owed for why
they were the first two of this new generation that we all love, the Kevin Owens, the Sami Zayn, the Finn Balor. They were the first two.
Both of those guys broke that barrier to kind of make the roster look like it is today, where basically the best of the best on the the indie scene are now coming to WWE, and a lot of these smaller guys that wouldn't have gotten a second look are now, they're coming into the main roster and they're having a lot of success. So the last thing to really talk about with Daniel Bryan, and I'm sure you're going to get the answer I'm expecting, but Hall of Fame. Daniel Bryan, is he in it?
Absolutely.
And how soon?
I would say the soonest is next year, but probably even that's a little too soon, in my opinion.
But WWE does put people in very quickly. Edge went in very quickly. Eddie Guerrero did he go almost the year he passed? I'm not sure.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Because he passed late in the year, like in the rotation that he passed, he went into the Hall of Fame, I believe.
Yes, but obviously the better example to look at is Edge, where he retired. So wait, he retired just after WrestleMania.
He retired the night after WrestleMania and went into the Hall of Fame
the following WrestleMania?
I believe so.
Wow, so literally the first opportunity they had to put him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I don't expect Daniel Bryan to go in this year going into WrestleMania 32.
He will headline the Hall of Fame, and they have Sting
he will be a headliner.
This year.
They need to kind of save people to have as their headliner. We got Sting this year. Daniel Bryan, though, I wouldn't be surprised if he's next year or the year after. I mean, we still got guys like The Rock who have to go in, so who knows? Or they could even do DX or something as a headline year.
Or The Undertaker.
Yeah, or The Undertaker. Exactly. I mean, maybe The Undertaker isn't even done, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, I think I kind of look at, when they put Rikishi in, that's kind of like my baseline now, which really allows for almost anyone to go into the Hall of Fame. That's
the entire Attitude Era is fair game now.
Yeah, basically. So Daniel Bryan seems to be absolutely a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, and just a hell of a run and really broke barriers. And you'll always have that WrestleMania 30 moment, a moment that was never supposed to happen, but basically, yeah, I think Daniel Bryan's biggest legacy is just being the small guy that made it, and also to be basically in an era where people don't get Austin level over anymore. He pretty much got Austin level over, and it's a shame that he couldn't have a longer run with the championship.
Agreed.
All right, so we're going to move on.
It's kind of tough to move on.
It is.
After
it is
that,
tough.
Right?
It is tough.
It's very easy to forget that there was a whole other 2 hours and 45 minutes of Raw.
Yeah, I mean, you had to know it wasn't going to be a work the way that they did this show. It was weird. It almost felt like one of those like memorial shows.
It totally
you're
did.
Like, Daniel Bryan's still alive. It's okay.
It's like, guys,
it's okay.
He's coming out at the end of the show.
You had to remind yourself of that because of the way that they did it. But I think they did a very good job paying tribute to him. As far as I know, they kept, like, the higher-ups kept this very close to the chest until basically that news broke. So my hat's off to the production team who had to put together a bunch of video packages like at the last second. Do you think
that it was because didn't it break from Daniel Bryan sending out that tweet?
Yes.
Because part of me kind of feels like this had been happening and, they were in Washington that night. So it just seemed like kind of the perfect time.
That's just the report I read, that apparently the production team was running around doing it last second because it was apparently... I
mean, it's wrestling, so that probably doesn't surprise me because it's basically... It's a tire fire every week, so what's one more tire fire?
Exactly. But anyway, Daniel Bryan, my hat is off to you, sir. You had a hell of a career, and I wish you the best of luck in whatever you do next. I'm not going to word it like...
You're not going to future endeavor him.
I'm not going to future endeavor Daniel Bryan. That's just wrong.
If you choose not to stick with wrestling, know that the Byte That team will still support you, sir.
Exactly. And it just makes me sad that we're never going to get to see a new Daniel Bryan match, but there's plenty of matches to go back and enjoy.
There's a whole network that only costs $9.99 that you can check out, Michael.
All right, so we still got plenty of Raw to talk about, so we're going to move into... the Wonderful Divas division.
Yay.
So I wanted to get your take because we weren't sure where things were going with Fastlane. We saw that Brie Bella had gotten involved, but we thought maybe we were going to get a multi-person match at Fastlane. But now it has basically been confirmed for Fastlane that we're getting straight up Brie versus Charlotte. So what did you think of this direction change? Because it looked like with Sasha Banks coming out, and then, we thought we were going to get Sasha and Becky in the mix. So how do you feel about it just being Brie versus Charlotte and how they kind of pulled that off?
I understand it because you need to save that for WrestleMania. It almost hits home the point that Fastlane is the most useless pay-per-view of the year, and it shouldn't even exist because they can't give away any form of Charlotte versus Sasha until WrestleMania. If you want that to be the big match, even if it ends up being a triple threat, whatever, it's still Sasha and Charlotte in the same ring for a championship. So this is kind of a way for them to coast until that point because they have Sasha and Becky doing that whole other thing with Team Bad. Like that'll probably be a tag match at Fastlane.
It actually is confirmed.
It's confirmed
that
at this
going
point?
to be a match. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree. This Brie versus Charlotte, it's like they teased the whole Sasha thing, but now they
That's
just
to get your appetite wet.
Exactly.
But then
now
we'll pick this up
it's
after
clear
Mania.
they're going to spin their wheels, appropriately at Fastlane.
Honestly, it's the worst time to spin your wheels if you're in the fast lane because you might cause a traffic jam, and that's just inconsiderate.
It's true. You're not really going to win that race if you're just spinning your wheels. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know what that says about the pay-per-view, but we'll see. So Brie versus Charlotte, yeah, it's I can't say I'm excited for it because it's really just Charlotte's probably going to win. Spoiler alert.
Here's a question for you, Ryan. Now that it's over, do they play the Daniel Bryan card in this feud? Whether it's cheap heel heat from Charlotte or he comes out to support Brie, do they play that card?
I could definitely see Charlotte doing the heel thing and taking a shot at Daniel Bryan. I don't really think Daniel Bryan is going to show up. I don't think he's going to make a lot of appearances. That's just my prediction. It could certainly happen. I'm not really expecting much from Daniel Bryan now, aside from like DVD stuff. Like maybe he'll do interviews for, whoever's
a Stone
DVD.
Cold podcast or whatever.
Yeah. Or the Stone Cold podcast. That would actually be great. He would be an awesome guest. I don't see him kind of pulling the Ric Flair and going out and being a manager on a regular basis or even for Fastlane.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, we'll see what happens with this match. It's
really hard to invest in it because we know WrestleMania comes next. That's kind of this match is the poster or the prime example of Fastlane as a whole. Just
Yeah, I mean the triple threat match for the title, that's gonna kind of be that's the big number one contender match. Everything else is kind of just like we're holding off until WrestleMania, so we'll see where things go.
But even that is kind of a step of we're holding off until WrestleMania. Like, Roman Reigns is probably going to win this one, but we're not going to tell you till after the pay-per-view because we're holding off a little bit till WrestleMania. That's
one thing I'll give Elimination Chamber over Fastlane was usually the Elimination Chamber would determine the number one contender for the secondary title, at least most years until they merged the titles. It left a little bit of mystery. I don't think, like the year Jack Swagger won, nobody really saw that coming. So there was still that kind of element of surprise there. But with the past, going into this Fastlane and last year's, it's really hasn't found its identity. But
agree.
Nevertheless, Ryback has a new attire.
You mean Ryberg?
Ryberg, Stone Cold Ryberg. He's got the weight belt, though. I like this new attire. I'm not saying it's the best, but of the two Ryback options, I think it looks better than the RVD-ish tie-dye singlet on Ryback because he's a big, jacked dude, so why not show off how big and jacked you are? So I like the change for Ryback. Yeah, I actually completely agree with you. I think it's a good move. Like you said, he's a big guy. You should probably accentuate that and let people know that he is a big guy. And I thought with the video package, they were like, "Oh, new attire. We're giving him this video before he comes out." Like this,
and then it's the most. While it is a good move, it is the most basic thing that they could have done.
But it's like, oh, here comes this big push for Ryback, and then he gets absolutely wrecked by the Wyatt family. Yeah. So poor Ryback. Hopefully, the new attire though will bring better things for you, but until then...
That happened twice last night, didn't it? Both with Ryback and Titus O'Neil. How it was like, this is a big thing. They're moving onwards and upwards just to lose.
Yep. Feels bad, man.
That it does. K-Kona.
So Miz TV. Have there been one too many Miz TVs lately?
Yes and no. Is Miz TV on that line of, okay, this is enough, guys? Yes. But what they did with Miz TV last night was awesome. I loved it so much, how it just changed. The part I loved was how it just changed from Miz TV to the highlight reel just in a matter of seconds. It's kind of like, hey, guys, we're in on the joke, too. These are all the same, and we can change them in a heartbeat. They're interchangeable easily. So I really like that. I enjoyed that a bunch.
Well, yeah, I mean, finally the production crew got a chance to show off their skills to the TV audience about how quickly...
And that right there, what those men did is not easy.
Yeah, how quickly they could just turn a set around and make it look like something else. So hats off to them. They finally got their Monday Night Raw moment.
Yeah.
They just need their WrestleMania moment next. But yeah, so Miz TV. Last week's Miz TV I thought was excellent. This one... Jericho, that heel turn can't come soon enough. I just I'm finding myself cringing with Jericho all the time now.
Yes.
Just that he's basically become a parody of himself.
He absolutely has. But if you really
the catchphrases and everything,
go back in time,
the Miz is outshining him.
Absolutely, because The Miz is basically a young Jericho. The Miz is what Jericho was in his prime, but if you exclude that original run around 1990...
Let's specify
on the mic, yes. In the ring, worlds apart. But if you go back and just exclude Jericho's original face run from 1999, 2001-ish, Jericho's never been a good face beyond that. It's always been kind of cheesy nothingness since then. And all of Jericho's high points have been as a heel. So, yes, that is why I 100% agree with you that he needs this heel turn, and he needs it in a very, very bad way, because we're going to get more sick of Jaredad at this point, even more than we already are.
Yeah, absolutely. I did like his face run. Then again, I was like 12 years old during his 2000 to it was 99 to 2000.
Oh yeah, I was like, unless I wasn't maybe I wasn't clear, but I was saying that one was good. That one was good. Oh, okay.
Don't worry,
what you're saying.
You got it right.
We're good.
Yeah, I did like that. I haven't watched it back since it aired, so I was 11 or 12 or whatever at the time.
There's probably, because he's still using the same jokes, there's probably diminishing returns on that one.
Yes,
but
absolutely. Yeah, but basically when he just kind of goes to the same tired catchphrases, and then he's trying to sing the "All I Want for Christmas is my two front teeth," the crowd always goes along to. I don't know why, but
it's because everybody knows
when you're
that
there.
song.
You want to be a part of the show, whatever. I get it. Didn't come off as good on TV. But still, these guys are doing a very good job of building AJ Styles. You know, we talked about this a lot last week. Building him up while protecting AJ. Because AJ, you know, as phenomenal as he is in the ring, had to get that in there. His mic skills are not the greatest. That doesn't mean he can't talk every once in a while. But I think they found the right role for AJ, is that, you know, guys who have been around know who this guy is. They respect him, and you know, they want to see if he's as good as everyone thinks he is. So
absolutely.
I think they're playing this right. AJ versus Jericho on SmackDown. Don't know what's going to happen, but my guess is we're leading to something bigger.
Yeah, my guess is that it ends in some form of disqualification, probably involving The Miz, and then it leads to either a Fastlane or WrestleMania match.
Yeah, this could end up going to AJ versus The Miz at Fastlane, and you save the big match for like this AJ Jericho rubber match at WrestleMania. So it's an interesting direction. Jericho's the right guy to face AJ at WrestleMania, so hopefully they build it off. And because I really don't know what I'd want for AJ if they just kind of throw away Jericho and AJ at Fastlane. I think it's the right move because it gives Jericho. Otherwise, what do you do with Jericho as well? You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right. What if? Wow, I just thought of this right now. What if Jericho wins at Fastlane? Say they have the match, Jericho wins, and then it's a real rubber match, a 1-1 at WrestleMania. Do you think that loss would diminish AJ in any way?
No, if you give AJ the big win at WrestleMania, I think that helps. I just feel like it does kind of take away from it if they do one. If WrestleMania is the second pay-per-view match, it's kind of like what they did with Cena and Rusev last year, where I feel like that really took away from the match when they had Cena and Rusev at Fastlane as the first match, and the second match. But you know what they had at WrestleMania?
They had a tank.
They did have a tank.
It instantly makes it better.
When did they do the Russian chain match? Was that the third pay-per-view?
The third, or...
Yeah, that definitely didn't happen at WrestleMania.
No, that was after, but it's all a blur after that. I figure, was the Russian chain the same as the I Quit, or were those two different matches? It's all a giant blur to me at this point.
Yeah, I think they were separate. I actually totally forgotten that the I Quit match even happened. So there you go. Anyway, so things are looking good for that program. We'll see how the Miz stays relevant in it, but so far so good. Now we did get probably the biggest story development on the show here during the what was the final match of Raw, which was the 8-man tag, the New
Tables
Day
match?
And yes, the tables match, tag tables match. You had the New Day and Mark Henry versus the Usos and the Dudley Boyz. So the Dudley Boyz just they were like, hey, it's a tables match and we're the Dudley Boyz and we're not in this match. So we're going to be in this match. And they were like, okay. So they were in the match. So the New Day got Mark Henry. We got some interesting dance moves from him, but kind of
how the mighty fall.
The big takeaway, besides maybe Jey Uso legitimately hurting his knee, I don't know what was going on there, was that the Dudley Boyz have turned heel.
Awesome. I think it's great. I hope so badly that this whole nostalgia trip is over with the Dudley Boyz, where it's, yeah, we're the Dudleys, ECW, and they just go back to being the badass Dudley Boyz that they were, almost hopefully going into the Bully Ray-ish territory, aces and eights of TNA's past. And that they move forward and maybe they'll get that tag title win. I would be okay with a heel Dudley Boyz being tag team champions over the New Day.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the New Day are turning face, or we're going to get heel versus heel. Doesn't matter. I think the Dudley Boyz have been wanting this. They got, even Joey Styles tweeted, they had their nostalgia run.
Yeah, Joey Styles said it best, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so now it's time to, for the Dudley Boyz to just come in and do what they've been waiting to do, which is, wreak havoc on the tag division. It definitely seems like this is what they've wanted, and it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So,
a little bit to your point, Ryan, you mentioned how if the Dudley Boyz being heels could feud with the New Day. I personally think that would work great, because New Day, I wouldn't even really consider them heels too much anymore. They've kind of found that gray area where, depending on how they choose to word their promo, they could be face or heel in the drop of a hat, or at the drop of a hat. Yeah, they don't get booed
until they start, crapping on the city that they're in or whatever. But every time they come out, they're getting cheered.
So I think it would totally work.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we see more of that as things continue.
Agreed.
So getting back to that triple threat feud we had, we opened up with the contract signing between Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. But I kind of wanted to get your take on, once again, it seemed like the focus was on Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. And for the second week in a row, Roman Reigns was just kind of on the sidelines. How'd you feel about that?
I think it's all right, but I almost feel like it is why it is, in the same way that the Divas division is why it is, where you don't need to build Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. They've done it before. You could call it a failure, but that almost sells itself at this point. This is where they can do something new, where they can put the spotlight on Dean Ambrose, because that whole Brock and Roman thing is coming, and it's going to happen no matter what. And you can just have them have a quick stare down the week before Fastlane, or even in the match, and boom, it's already made right there, no problem. So this is a way to kind of quell people on the whole, it's just the Roman Reigns show thing, because now Roman Reigns kind of takes a back seat, even though he's still going to be in the main event. I think it's a good move from that respect, and this way Dean Ambrose can just take the beating over and over again from Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We've seen Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. We've seen it. We've not seen Ambrose versus Lesnar. So to have that interaction is a completely fresh thing. So I like that they're not wasting it. They're not just having Ambrose kind of be the third wheel in this. They're making him feel just as important. So I do really like that. So Roman Reigns, do you feel like they've made him look a little too weak, though? I mean, we always say Roman's got to look strong. There was even a sign on Raw this week that said great. Roman looks strong. I thought that was great. But have they kind of positioned him to look kind of just lame and like it? I don't know. I feel like he just gets, Roman Reigns gets a table thrown at him. But but Ambrose is the only one who cares about like kind of getting back at Lesnar, and he's coming down to the ring. He's calling him out. He's actually getting mad about something. He got F5'd. He wants revenge. We don't see people reacting to things that happen to them enough. So it was nice to see Ambrose come out, be like, I want to take you on. And then Roman Reigns was just kind of like the pawn in Ambrose's scheme.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Do you feel like they're positioning? Are they not making Roman look strong enough? Am I really saying this?
Yes. Think about this question.
Question to you.
I don't think so, because they can undo all of that in a second if they want to, and just have Roman get the upper hand and boom, it's done. It's one of those situations where you can't. They're up against Brock Lesnar. You can't have them both looking strong. You got to take one or the other, right? And Dean Ambrose is still looking, quote, strong while getting beaten down all the time. He's really only gotten one offense, or one thing of offense off on Brock, and that's by hitting him in the dick, which, by the way, they really need to. Brock needs to get a cup, because this is like the third time here. But I do kind of love that whole dynamic where Brock Lesnar is invincible everywhere except his little beasties. And that's the only. It's his one weak point. If Brock Lesnar was a final boss, that's what you would. You would go after
for massive damage.
Massive damage, indeed. But no, I don't think that Roman looks too weak, because minus that whole tables part, Roman Reigns hasn't really done anything yet. And I'm not saying that in the bad way, where he's just kind of on the side. But even with their little stare down on Raw, even just by Brock Lesnar stopping what he's doing and diverting all his attention to Roman, it makes Roman Reigns seem like a threat just from that. Like, oh, this is somebody that's worthy of Brock Lesnar, this unstoppable force, stopping what he's doing and then like putting all of his attention onto Roman. So those little things, I think, keep it at a good spot, more than just, oh, Roman coming to the ring fighting with Brock and Brock getting the upper hand, oh, then Roman gets the upper hand, because then we're just going nowhere, really.
Absolutely. So next week, I fully expect the Roman Reigns show is back. We had our 2 weeks of Ambrose build. It's going to be all about...
I don't think the Reigns show is going to be back till after Fastlane.
You think it's all Dean Ambrose until the end of Fastlane?
I think so. They'll have their little tease, like at least a stare down.
They're just kind of, they're giving us a break because Roman Reigns strong mode goes into full force after Fastlane.
Yeah, he goes Super Saiyan Kamehameha after Fastlane, and we are back to the Roman show, baby.
Get ready, folks. You only get, what, one more episode of, is next week the Go Home Raw?
Is it? It sounds right.
Maybe. They said 2 weeks till Fastlane. All right, let's confirm that. All right. Let's be good people.
We fact checked on Tuesday nights, Michael. So let's vamp. How's the weather, Ryan?
It's we had a snowstorm yesterday, but no big deal.
I heard you guys had canceled. Like a big blizzard or something in that area.
It actually wasn't too ridiculous.
Okay.
So
we're supposed to get a blizzard sometime soon, but it's Canada, so we just call that February.
Do you have already tons of snow just like stacked up?
Not as much this year. It's actually been pretty mild for the most part this year. We'll have a week that's like minus 20, minus 30 degrees Celsius. But other than that, it's actually been pretty nice.
Nice. All right, yeah. I got it though.
All right.
WWE Fastlane is on February 21st, which means next week's Raw will be the Go Home show. So we have one more week of the Ambrose show, and then, ladies and gentlemen, until WrestleMania,
we're all joining the Roman Empire.
Yes, we are going to be right in the midst of the Roman Empire. All right, so moving on to a couple announcements. You can check out Juan's Lucha Underground reviews over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Byte That Cast. You can also check out his unboxing video that he did where he opened up WrestleCrate. If you guys have heard of things like Loot Crate, there is a wrestling version. You can check that out. Is it WrestleCrate.com?
I believe so.
Or you can Google it. Yeah. I don't know the direct website, but
or check
I saw Juan's
review.
unboxing.
I'm sure it's somewhere on there.
Yeah, I looked at Juan's unboxing video, and I'm pretty jealous that he got those John Morrison sunglasses. I won't spoil anything else that's in it. Just watch the video, and you can see what else he got. Also, this Thursday, if you saw
it's a big one,
Juan's big teaser video, Fight Night returns. It's been quite a hiatus, but trust me, things are getting very interesting.
It's back with a vengeance.
It is our, for anyone who's not familiar with it, is our WWE 2K Fantasy Wrestling League, where, you know, in the fantasy league of wrestling, anything can happen. And we make sure
does anything happen.
Yeah, we make sure anything truly happens. So that will be up this Thursday over on the YouTube channel. So we're going to actually continue a little thing we did last week which was sort of this week in WWE history. So I'm just going to read off a few things and, we can just talk a little, get your reaction from it.
Okay.
All right. Starting in the year 2000, this week, it was Kane with Paul Bearer defeating the Big Show and Triple H in a no DQ 2-on-1 handicap match. Interestingly, cool. Because all three of these guys are still on the roster.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, pretty wild. All right, in 2006, Shelton Benjamin defeated Eugene.
Remember Shelton Benjamin? Remember Eugene?
Yeah. Shelton Benjamin, man. They keep saying he's going to return. And
every Rumble. Well, this year AJ Styles kind of took that away from Shelton.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought Shelton was an amazing athlete, but his charisma, his out of the ring charisma, he never quite found that connection with the audience, and unfortunately, it never really worked out. Eugene, I mean,
he was a success despite
he was
everything.
Super over, and his gimmick is pretty offensive.
I will still argue that Triple H versus Eugene was one of the best feuds of the mid-2000s.
It was pretty great, except for the fact that Eugene was never the same after that.
He got the golden shovel right there.
Yeah, he just got that was one true burial of someone, because Eugene actually had a lot of momentum. Who knows how far you could have really gone with that gimmick, but it definitely could have fared better than what happened.
Agreed.
Also, in 2006, Ashley Massaro defeated Tori Wilson. So Ashley Massaro, I feel like she basically had a cup of coffee in the WWE. She won the Divas Search the second year, I believe.
Yeah, yes, because Christy was the first one.
Yes. And I don't know, she didn't really last that long, did she?
I think it was a while, but she didn't really do anything because, how long? Hell, it wasn't, maybe it wasn't very long. I'm trying to remember because she was, okay, let me work through this. So she was doing that.
I'm going to be the fact checker here.
But she was around. She was the third wheel for the whole Trish Stratus, Mickie James feud. Then I think I remember her doing something on SmackDown for a while.
She did. She was on Feud with Vince's Devils and Mickie James 2005 to 2006. And she was on SmackDown 2006 to 2007. And she apparently lasted until 2008, and then she left.
Okay, so it was more than a cup of coffee. It was more like a coffee break.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how far the Divas division has come in these last couple of years. Even, think about people like Kelly, or I guess Alicia Fox versus Melina. Think about that match and how we've come from there to where we are now.
And now in 2010, and this was a time I wasn't watching, so it's up to you if you want to comment on this, Keith. Legacy was a thing. Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase are in the back arguing. Ted DiBiase says he's better than Cody. Randy Orton walks in and tries to put both of them in their place. He said tonight Ted DiBiase is facing John Cena. He said he appreciated what Cody was trying to do a few weeks ago. He praised his efforts and failure. He said tonight, as a reward, he'd face him.
Legacy was awesome. I liked Legacy. I think it ended. Would I say too soon? No, I wouldn't say too soon. Legacy ran its course, but when it was the whole Randy Orton, they were a very good set piece to the whole Randy Orton heel ultra run where he was the crazy snappy IED. They were very good henchmen for Randy Orton at that time.
It's just unfortunate that it kind of ended up being about Randy Orton, right? And nobody else really ended up prospering from it outside of Orton in the long run.
And it's so fascinating how if you would have told me back then if you would have asked me back then which one of the two between Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes would be the success, I would yell to the hills that it would be Ted DiBiase. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, crazy how things turn out sometimes.
Indeed.
So there you have it. And now we're just gonna go right into the questions that you guys have sent us. So Keith, start us off.
Actually, Ryan, you did such a good job last week, and you said it was so easy. So why don't you take it away?
Oh, a quick reminder for your questions. You can send them to us by sending us an email at bytethatcast@gmail.com. You can also send us questions on Twitter by sending it to @bytethatcast and use the hashtag AskBT. And you can also comment if you're listening on YouTube. You can comment right in this video. So whatever the current podcast video is, just leave a comment, and we will add that to our list of questions.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Very nice of you.
I got your back, man.
Yeah. So before we get to this week's questions, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping from last week where David A. was kind enough to ask me a question, and you guys were kind enough to answer it for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to address that quickly. He asked me when will the Brock Lesnar hype finally die down, if ever? And for me personally, I don't think it'll ever hype down. Brock Lesnar is something special. There is no other person like him. And I don't think there will ever be something or anybody that comes close to what Brock can do. It's his speed that just makes him so special. Brock Lesnar is honestly probably one of my favorite people, if not my 100% favorite person on the active roster right now. And as long as they don't damage him in the way that, he keeps losing and losing and losing. Like when Brock Lesnar finally gets pinned, it's still going to be a big thing. And I think he will still be a very big thing after that. It's just, I love Brock. Kind of rambling now, but it's Brock Lesnar so goddamn good. So well thank you. Thank you for the questions. Now on to this week's questions. Yay!
Woo!
Yay! So our first one, woo! First one, True Prince of Pro. He asks, hey guys, do you believe that Daniel Bryan will be remembered as the greatest babyface of all time?
It depends what you mean, but even then, I still think my answer would be no. If we're talking a guy who's positioned as the good guy, even though he's not necessarily a good guy, you know where I'm going with this. Stone Cold Steve Austin or Hulk Hogan probably still have to be on that list. Those have to be the top two. You can put them in whatever order you want, really. But as far as transcendent, successful baby faces, those are the two guys because they were more than just the good guy on the wrestling show. They became a cultural phenomenon. And Daniel Bryan was close to that in some ways, but in other ways he was not that close. Like the yes chant was becoming a thing outside of wrestling, so he was starting to sort of transcend there. But he's not the household name that Daniel Bryan, that Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan are. So, as great as he was and as successful as he was, he's probably not on that list. He might be in the top 15 or so. You could maybe fight for him in the top 10, but other than that, I don't think I can put him there.
Agreed. Is Daniel Bryan a great babyface? Yes. But when you put him on the tier of people like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, you might even, this one, I don't know how I feel about saying it, but even John Cena, he doesn't really hang there. He had a great moment and an amazing run, but as far as the greatest of all time goes, I don't think that he matches up very well.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone will ever match Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin and The Rock because it's just a different, wrestling is different now. It's a different era. But the one thing you can give Daniel Bryan is in this era, I don't think there's been anyone who's been as universally liked as Daniel Bryan is.
Yes.
In a wrestling era where every single babyface gets cheered and booed, and every single heel gets cheered and booed. Daniel Bryan was one guy that almost everyone could get behind.
It makes me think of, like, there's a very interesting conversation to be had about who was the better babyface, Daniel Bryan or John Cena? Because they're very different, but I would still consider them both extremely successful babyfaces. Probably the top two most successful of the generation.
Absolutely. Well, CM Punk's also up there.
Yes, but I don't think Punk's on that level, because Punk was at his best when he was a heel, right? And even when he was a top babyface, everybody was anticipating a heel turn.
True. If we're looking strictly as babyfaces and not just successful people of their era,
yes,
I would agree. And Daniel Bryan became very successful and did all that in a much shorter amount of time than John Cena.
That is very true. Huh. Interesting conversation. So thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes in from NKBE1324, who asks, do you think that Daniel Bryan should work at the Performance Center now that he is retired?
Maybe further down the line, but I'm sure Daniel Bryan is a guy who's just retired from wrestling. You know, I don't know him. I don't know what he wants to do, but my guess would be that he wants to probably take himself out of wrestling for a while, be away from it. You know, if he can't wrestle, it's probably going to hurt for him to always be around other people wrestling. That's kind of my take, and I've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin say on his podcast, like, he needed to kind of be away from it for a while when he stepped out. My guess that is the route Daniel Bryan's going to take. He's very big into, you know, environmental things and charity things, so I wouldn't be surprised if he focuses his efforts in that way. You know, the way that he is, he's going to be doing something that helps somebody or helps the earth. You know,
of course.
That seems like the guy Daniel Bryan is. So, you know, maybe several years down the line, he might decide he wants to come back and help people. But it's kind of tough when how much can he do in the ring to physically train with people?
Exactly.
Besides just kind of give directions. Because you see a lot of those trainers are in there, you know, bumping around almost with the guys too. So we'll see. I definitely wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. I think from a mental standpoint, if you have to forcefully retire from something, the last thing you should do is involve yourself in it anyway, just to have a little bit of separation, like you mentioned. And I think that's probably the route he is going to take. But like I mentioned earlier, whatever he decides to do, we support him, right?
Absolutely.
And plus, if I remember correctly, at some point, Daniel Bryan mentioned that he is a horrible coach. So if he's not a very good coach, I don't think he should be teaching anybody. But nonetheless, thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes in from Cody Collier, who asks, what do you think is the most underrated moment and or match of Daniel Bryan's WWE career, and why?
Well, I would say for a moment that's underrated maybe by WWE, but certainly not overrated by a lot of people in the IWC, is the moment he broke out of the Wyatt family. I didn't see that in any of the video packages. I don't know if you did. I don't think
I don't think so.
I don't think they showed it, where I thought, aside from essentially him winning the championship at WrestleMania 30, I don't think there was a bigger moment than that moment. That was
on top of the steel cage there you're talking about?
That is, when he broke out of the Wyatt family and attacked Bray Wyatt and then got up on the cage doing the yes chant, or even just the yes chant before he did the kick was really the big moment, in my opinion. That was his pipe bomb. You know, that was his cornerstone, like, moment where he was a made man, in my opinion. That was Daniel Bryan's, like, this guy is a big deal type of moment. So I think that is underrated, at least through the view of WWE. Maybe they don't like to show it because he kind of had a concussion during most of that.
You know, that's a good point.
But either way, it was still one of the greatest moments. An underrated match. I can't think. I mean, all of his. I mean, you could just name any 6-man tag match he was involved in with The Shield. They were killing it every single night on Raw. I mean, so I guess you could say his TLC match with The Shield, because you wouldn't necessarily be looking at that. His Royal Rumble match with Bray Wyatt.
That was going to be my answer. That match is incredible, and nobody talks about it, and I think it's a travesty that is how it is. But I would say, to extend your answer a little bit, that entire feud with Bray Wyatt, I think, is very underrated and kind of gets frowned upon because of the way it ended. But remember that, did you watch that episode of Raw where Bray Wyatt converted Daniel Bryan to the Wyatt family, and how he took who did he take out? Oh no, he just Daniel Bryan just got on his knees and joined the Wyatt family, and he let Wyatt hit the Sister Abigail on him and just kind of walked to the back. That was the first time in a very long time where I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen next week? Yeah. It was just a hell of a moment and a very underrated feud. Another one I would say is Daniel Bryan's heel championship run as a world heavyweight champion, where he would hide behind AJ and the Big Show would take her out and he would just yell at the Big Show what did you do, you big oaf, and stuff like that. That was amazing stuff.
That's true. Daniel Bryan's heel run with AJ was also great, and he was an instrumental part in having AJ become as big as she became.
Absolutely. Yeah, even run. The Daniel Bryan CM Punk Kane feud that involved AJ, that was a really good summer program. Yeah. CM Punk's and Daniel Bryan's match at Over the Limit, I think it was. That's another very underrated match. A lot of good stuff in there.
Absolutely.
We've said it 50 times, but God, did he have a hell of a run.
Yes, yeah.
So, thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes in from Flip Jupiter. I really like that name. Dear Byte That, the show is amazing. Thank you, sir. My question to you is, do you think that Sami Zayn could possibly take on the role of Daniel Bryan?
He needs to grow his beard out a little more and then let his hair get a little longer.
In the most literal sense, yes.
But to seriously answer your question, to not be exactly like Daniel Bryan, but is he a guy who could kind of be that, workhorse babyface that, is sympathetic? He's the smaller guy and everyone can get behind? Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone closer than Sami Zayn to kind of fit that role. He's got that same just likable appeal to him. He just seems like a nice guy and you want to like him. There's some other guys who are, when they're a babyface, you just can't stand them. But Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan are two guys where you're just like, oh, he seems like a really cool guy. I just, I like him. So yeah, absolutely.
That comparison almost makes me worried for Sami Zayn, that when he gets called up, all he's going to do is be compared to Daniel Bryan, because he'll never really get the chance to be Sami Zayn. It could almost be a detriment to his career that things worked out the way it did, and he just gets kind of put into that role instead of getting his own chance to be what everybody basically knows at this point Sami Zayn can be. It's almost the same way that Kalisto kind of got he picked up where Rey Mysterio left off. Yeah,
that is a situation with that's definitely a concern for Kalisto. We've yet to see how they will position Sami Zayn when he does get called up to the main roster. I do think there's enough differences in Sami Zayn that hopefully he won't have to fall into that trap. But I think it's a lot easier for someone like Kalisto, who the mask and everything. Yeah. He's Latino. He's got the mask. He's small. There's a few more factors going against Kalisto than there is Sami Zayn. So I have better hope that Sami Zayn can get out of that, and I really hope Kalisto can separate himself from just being compared to Mysterio, because he's got plenty of his own merits to be his own guy.
Agreed. So thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes in from Philly Cherry Evans. Ooh, I see
Team
what you...
PCE changing it up.
Oh, look how muggle we change it up on Tuesday nights. Ha ha! But nonetheless. Hey guys, PCE here. Yep, changed it up. See? It happened. Question. What are your thoughts on pay-per-views outside the United States? Examples like Beast in the East, Rebellion, Insurrection, and even the first and only Australian pay-per-view Global Warning. Should the WWE plan more pay-per-views outside the US for their global fans? No offense, but house shows just don't do it for them.
Wait, was Global Warning an actual thing that happened?
You know what? We fact-checked so many things, we might as well do one more.
We're fact-checking, Michael.
But
it'd probably be WWF, right?
I would assume so. But to answer your question, Mr. Evans, yes, I think it'd be a good thing just so people have that extra. You get that American flair when it comes to wrestling. Whoa. Because what do we have?
Warning was a WWE. Oh, it was a tour. Wait, but they said hold on. Global Warning was a Southeast Asian professional wrestling pay-per-view event produced by World Wrestling Entertainment that took place on August 10th, 2002 in Melbourne, Australia.
No.
That's interesting. Did that ever air? Or was it just a DVD? I don't know. Well, it said pay-per-view event. All right. I totally don't remember that. But...
So there we go. We learned something today. But yeah, there's only one WWE in wrestling. There's nothing really else like that. And I think why not share that with the rest of the world? But at the same time, you got to keep it new. You got to keep it exciting for everybody else, right? Like say they start doing quarterly shows in Japan. Will it be as exciting as something going on when like New Japan happens? So they kind of got to still be able to separate themselves in that respect. But why not share it with everybody, you know?
I think with the network, this is something that they should absolutely do. And they should do it as sort of a pay-per-view event. I think they should kind of go the Beast in the East route, where it's not a full-on pay-per-view, but it's a special event where important things happen. Where you can have one or two title changes going on. And so what they could do, instead of doing it quarterly or something, I think once a year they should pick a country that's a big market that they never do pay-per-views in, because obviously the big issue is time zones. You don't want your big money pay-per-view to be at a weird time for your central audience in the United States.
Agreed.
So for something in Australia, maybe you do it once a year. This year, you do it in Australia. You do a Beast in the East type special. I don't know what, the Thunder Down Under, whatever you want to call it. You have that event. Then next year, you do England. And then the year after, you do India.
But they should all keep it with the Beast. Like
yes.
Thunder Down Under from the Beast. The English one could be like Tea and Crumpets with the Beast.
Yeah, and just be as stereotypical to each country as possible, because WWE does that anyway.
Yeah, it's the WWE. Would you expect anything less?
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea. The network gives them that flexibility, so they should take advantage of it.
Agreed. So thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes from Maestro Gamer. Hey guys, question for Keith. Ooh, I'm popular this week.
Whoa, you get another specific question?
Who would you love for Brock Lesnar to face that he has or not already faced on the main roster? Apparently I'm a Byte That's Brock Lesnar expert now as well.
Keith Poshik, resident Brock Lesnar expert correspondent.
Exactly. Well, my analysis says here, Ryan, that I would love to see AJ Styles feud with Brock Lesnar. Like I mentioned earlier, the thing that separates Brock Lesnar from every other big guy ever is his speed. He is just so fast and he is so agile. It's basically inhuman what Brock Lesnar can do. You have those smaller guys, you have those fast guys that can keep up with Brock Lesnar, make him kind of push him to the limit in that respect. And I think those are where Brock's best matches come from. My example would be, take a look at the Royal Rumble triple threat with him, John Cena, and Seth Rollins, and how just Seth just brought out that fast-paced monster that Brock Lesnar is. And that is the direction that I would love to see Brock's matches take. And I think AJ Styles is the best candidate for someone he hasn't already faced, because my answer would be Seth Rollins, but, well, they've already feuded, so kind of null and voids it. So out of curiosity, Ryan, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I wasn't asked this question. I don't know if I should answer it.
I was letting you jump on my thunder. Yeah, you can jump on my thunder from down under.
Well, I'd like to see Bray Wyatt, and that's something that could still very much happen. That certainly is going to happen. I was getting confused because I was thinking like, oh wait, is he going to face Braun Strowman? I was like, oh no, that might be The Undertaker. But other than Bray Wyatt, which seems like it's absolutely going to happen.
See, I don't think that's going to be a good match. It's going to be a cool match.
It's more like the dynamic of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of just the interaction between the two of them that really interests me. As far as like from a kind of athletic standpoint, it's actually really tough to think of someone he hasn't faced who is kind of on that like upper tier level you really want to see. How am I not? There must be someone I'm just not thinking of.
See, it's tough right now.
Yeah, it just shows you how many people are out or whatever, or the state of the roster. I mean, Kevin Owens, I don't know if that match should ever happen.
I don't think it'll be a good match for some of the same reasons that I don't think Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt will be good, because you're just like, Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens are big dudes, but Brock Lesnar's just a bigger dude, and one would say he is the biggest dude. So there's nothing that they can really bring to the table that Brock can't just completely overpower them with. So that's why I like that speed and agility approach, because that is something that that's where Brock can look weak, but yet because he's Brock Lesnar, he'll match them no problem. That's how you make Brock strong and his opponent strong.
Well, you know what? How about the ultimate David versus Goliath, and you do Kalisto versus Brock Lesnar?
I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, it actually would be amazing. And then my next choice after that would be El Torito versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh my God. Just in like a shot put match where how far can Brock Lesnar shot put him?
Kalisto, there's just going to be a spot where Lesnar just like takes him and just throws him across the arena, So those would be my two choices: the inevitable Bray Wyatt match, and then Kalisto.
Righto. So thank you, sir, for the question. Our final question of the show comes from Big Marcus C, who asks, should WWE team up? I just realized I say WWE is basically one word at this point. WWE, but nonetheless, should the WWE team up with another wrestling promoter to have events? As an example, ROH and NJPW, which I'm assuming is New Japan, have Global Wars, and the CMLL and NJPW have Fantasticamania. Who should WWE have it with, if they should?
If they were to partner with someone, I would suspect it would be something like New Japan, where it's kind of an out-of-the-country, not in any way direct competitor type of situation. But I don't see WWE doing that. A lot of these companies that are partnering up are they're in the same kind of spot. They're in that same level. Whereas there's nobody on the same level as WWE. So it almost looks like they're kind of bringing themselves down to another promotion. And I'm not knocking any of the other promotions. I just think like that's how you kind of have to look at it. WWE, I don't think they're against partnering with other organizations like they kind of are with Evolve right now, where, there's some talent exchange or talent sharing going on. But as far as a promoted event on WWE TV where it's this promotion versus that promotion, I don't see that happening.
It just sounds like a logistical nightmare to me, where how do you make, because the WWE is on that higher tier, how do you make everybody look good at the end of the show?
Exactly.
So I don't think they should do it. The farthest they should go in that direction is probably NXT, where I would love to see a WWE versus NXT style thing, because at least even if the NXT guys end up looking good over the main roster guys, guess what? They're going to be main roster guys in a couple of years anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, call them up. If you want to make them look strong, call them up to the main roster right after,
Exactly. So I think that's really the only way they could go in that direction and still it being somewhat successful.
Agreed.
And that's our questions. So thank you everyone for sending them in. You can do that by going to twitter.com/ByteThatCast using the hashtag AskBT. Leave a comment on YouTube. Send us an email, bytethatcast@gmail.com. Do whatever you want. But what we're going to do is head on out of here. So Ryan, take us away.
All right, thank you, Keith. With that, we want to thank you guys for listening to another edition of the Byte That podcast. As I said before, if you have not already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. This Thursday, Fight Night returns. You can also check out Juan's most recent Lucha Underground reviews. Maybe I should watch those reviews so that I can finally motivate myself to finally start.
You gotta keep kayfabe strong, Ryan.
Lucha Underground, that's right. No, I gotta keep the gimmick strong. I cannot watch it. You know, you gotta live the gimmick, you know what I'm saying? All right, and as Keith mentioned, our social media, @ByteThatCast on Twitter. You can head to our Facebook and hit the like button for facebook.com/ByteThatCast. We're on Instagram @ByteThatWrestlingMNO, the app you can download. We are on that as Byte That. For everything else, you can go to ByteThat.com. If you want to contact us, send us an email to ByteThatCast@gmail.com. So thank you guys for listening. Daniel Bryan, swig of water for the retired man.
Swig a Mountain Dew kickstart for the retired man.
And we'll see you guys next week. And also, Keith drinks Kickstarter because the WWE Network has poisoned his brain.
It is potentially true. Bye. 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 Bye.